Looks like we're live now.
Yeah, we are right now.
Okay, cool.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth and final installment of the PTK podcast series brought to you by the Beta Sigma Mu chapter of Phi Theta Kappa. That is at the Trinity River campus of Tarrant County College in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. And today we will be talking to LuLu about what academic life is like and some personal stories of what that entails. I think there's going to be a breakup mentioned at some point, but we will let her tell us the story. So thank you so much for your time, LuLu. Thank you for doing this. Welcome, and go ahead and introduce yourself. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is LuLu. I don't know how to introduce myself. I guess what I'm doing in college right now. I'm studying psychology. I was homeschooled my whole life before I started college.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
So all of it, homeschool.
Yeah, like elementary to
Yeah.
high school, like
That's
all
amazing.
homeschooled.
Okay.
So college was definitely a big culture shock. But it wasn't that bad. I feel like I honestly had it was easy to adjust because during homeschool I was mostly setting myself up, I didn't
Sure.
exactly have a one-on-one teacher kind of thing.
Well,
So
before you even get going, the homeschool thing, so were you doing it with other siblings?
yeah, my entire family, my 8 other siblings.
8 other siblings.
8 other
How
siblings.
awesome.
Yeah.
So this was a parental family choice for some time.
Yeah.
It had been known you were going to be homeschooled. So where do you fall in line, oldest to youngest, on the sibling scale? Where are you?
I'm the middle more so. I have 3 younger, 5 older.
Okay.
So, yeah, and my entire family has been homeschooled from elementary to high school.
That is so neat.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but purposely because of a religious commitment of some sort?
I feel like they say they just liked homeschooling better, but I feel like they were Christians and they kind of taught us that the world was evil and that if we
Okay.
went to public school, we would be like, around a bunch of sinners and like the sin would rub off on us. That's my theory, but they didn't specify that.
It wasn't an overbearing.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that's why.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so studying psychology, new to college. I have 2 pets. I have a cat, Pablo, and a dog, Allie. I love them both so much. They're very stereotypical. Like when you think of a dog, my dog is the dog. And when you think of a cat, my cat is the cat. It's very stereotypical.
Fun.
Yeah.
So welcome, and so I've had the honor and fortune of speaking to you previously, and I'll set a little bit of context by saying you have a great deal of emotional depth about you. Your patience and kindness when you are listening to other people, whether they're discussing an issue of the heart or it's something very intellectual, you've always been thoughtful in that way. So I hope to provide you the same space for you today, with you being the center of attention here. But so what did you really want to get into with everyone today?
Well, when you first brought up the, people telling their story, and I was thinking about it, I was like, do I have any story worth telling? My first thought was like, oh, I just went through a breakup, and I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, and I was like, no, you don't want to talk about that. There's so much more to your life than that. Don't make this person, the center of your life. I was like, I don't want to talk about that.
Sure.
But then I was thinking about it more, and I'm like, as far as stories go, this one is probably the best story.
Well, and
And
a lot of people go through it too, right? And it could be, yeah. So I think it's okay for you to talk about it, especially when it comes to going to school and having things that can distract you. I mean, is there anything more important to someone than heartbreak? It can take over your life if you let it. So,
yeah.
No, I think it's a great story. So take it away.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
when me and my ex met. We met in June of 2022 online on Discord. It was a long distance relationship. It was kind of funny. I was in like a VC. You know what VC is? It's like
I don't.
It's a voice chat.
When I hear VC, I immediately think of venture capital.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Okay, so VC is voice chat. It's just like this channel that people can join and talk to each other in.
Sure.
So I was in this channel talking to some people. Then they all left and I was bored. I was like, okay, let me hang up. And I was about to hang up. Like my hand was over the button and then my ex joined. Jaron is his name.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to talking a little bit. Nothing big, nothing that special. It was just, another person to talk to.
Sure.
It's cool, whatever. And then slowly started becoming closer as friends. And when we met, he was being dumb, and he said that he was a lesbian, making a stupid joke. So I was like, oh, this is a woman. I thought he was a girl, because when he was in voice chat, he was muted. He was just texting, I was talking. So I thought he was a girl for the first couple months, and then I found out he was a guy, and I was like, I felt like he lied to me. I was like, I don't want to talk to him anymore, and it was weird because back then, I was so untrusting of people. Like any bit of information anyone gave me, I always questioned it,
Sure.
Everything, their age, their gender, their background, their story, their compliments, their insults, everything people told me was questioned. So it kind of scared me that I didn't question him when he said he was a woman kind of thing.
That's interesting. Where do you think that came from?
The questioning everything?
Yeah. What piqued your curiosity to realize that there could be this duality or both-siderism with people that are close to you?
So I recently learned this year that I think that over analytical side of me of questioning other people came because I would constantly lie to myself. And so I would do things, I would say things, I would be mean to people when I meant to like say I love you, I want to be there for you, and I would hurt them when I meant something else. So it kind of was like, sure. I couldn't trust myself, so I couldn't really trust other people either.
So this interesting projection of,
yeah,
something that you developed as a protective mechanism.
Yeah, so I thought other people were doing it too.
Sure.
But yeah, I was like, when I found out he was a guy, or he said he didn't really care if he was a guy or a girl, or he didn't really care how people saw him. So it wasn't an exact lie, but let me know if this isn't making sense, because like I know the whole story, so it might not like draw
everything you're gonna say makes sense. Okay. We live in such an interesting, malleable time. So might it strike some people odd that a man, maybe even a man that considers himself cis or hetero, would identify as a lesbian? I mean,
yeah,
that would offend some people.
Yeah.
And confuse other people.
Yeah.
So whether he was just being cheeky to keep talking to you, but it sounds like it went on for quite some time.
Well, it's just like literally like the day we met, he was like, oh my God, I'm a lesbian, let's kiss. We were just just children. We were children. Yeah, we were just children. And I never bothered to ask any further because I didn't really care. I just assumed he was a girl just like me.
So it's not even meant to be made more complicated.
No, exactly. It's just a silly little thing.
Sure.
But it hurt me and it scared me because I trusted him when I didn't really trust anyone else. I was like, this is dangerous, I trusted this person for no reason and I was wrong. Like, that's scary. So then I kind of was like, hey, I don't want to be friends anymore. And he was like, okay, cool. And then like a month or so later, he messaged me. He was like, hey, can I ask you something? I was like, sure, why not? And he was like, well, how do you feel about me? And I'm like, other than scared, really sad because I thought you were really cool and I'm, upset that things had to end like that. And then he was like, then he explained himself. That's when he told me he didn't really care if people saw him as a guy or a girl, and he didn't mean to hurt me. And I was like, cool, okay, grievances aside, I have nothing against you anymore. Still not a relationship worth pursuing. Like, this is just online. Like, there's no point. And throughout our friendship, we kind of connected over this thing where we have both led people on romantically just to keep a friend around, which is something I'm not proud of, but something that I've done.
Sure.
And he did too. It was interesting to find someone else who did that. And also just at the same time being so scared that our friends would fall in love with us because of how nice and friendly we were to them, because that's also something I've dealt with, and it's also not fun. So that was something we connected on. And when I was trying to like cut off the friendship, he was like, hold on, let's make a contract. Like, you be honest with me about how you're feeling and if I hurt you, and I'll tell you about my mood swings, you know? Because he has ADHD, characterized by like mood swings up and down. And I was like, okay, you know what? Sure, we can do that. But one condition: neither of us can fall in love with each other. Okay, deal. Deal. And
Sure.
so that was a nice contract to set up our new friendship on. You know, I was being vulnerable with him. He was being vulnerable and honest with me. And there was no fear of having to hurt the other person's feelings.
It creates a safe environment where you didn't previously have one. Because that's a very unique set of circumstances to be dealing with. Your friends are constantly romantically attracted or falling in love with you, and you don't want to lose them, so you let this go on for a little while so you can keep them around, but at the same time you're violating what you actually need out of the relationship, and you're hurting them by leading them on in a space where they're trying to express themselves.
Yeah, it's
How unique.
So complicated and so frustrating. And so it was such a breath of fresh air to find someone who felt the same.
Sure.
You know? And so we were friends for a while. I got to know him better. He got to know me better. And then I think I'm going to have to skip over the part where we actually started dating, because that's just going to make me too sad. But it happened. We started dating December of 2022. And oh wait, let me start. Before that, before me and Jaren started dating, there was this other guy I met online. His online name was Tart, Pop Tart. Love people online. He was very sweet, you know, very communicative, very confident, you know, he checked all the boxes. Pretty cool. And I was thinking, I was like, I want a relationship. Logically, Tart would be a good person to date. Logically. Because he lived in Massachusetts, and me and my sister were going to live in Rhode Island.
Okay.
So, you know, it wasn't going to be long distance for a while. So then I started dating Tart for 2 weeks. Worst 2 weeks of my life. I hated it. I hated it so much because, like, logically, like, he would have been a good boyfriend, but, like, emotionally, there was nothing there. There was no connection. It was horrible. And I had to, like, pretend that I liked him. Oh, my God. I was miserable. And then I was having a hard time one night, or sometime, I don't remember exactly. And I saw 333, and I was looking up. I was like, what does 333 mean? And it was like, you need time to focus on yourself, you know, reestablish like your boundaries, like connect with yourself again. I'm like, yeah, true, let's break up. And then I texted him. I was like, hey, this isn't working. We're gonna have to break up. And he was like, we were only dating for 2 weeks. It was online. It wasn't like that deep. So yeah, that was in the past. That was in like October 2022. And then I was friends with Jaren throughout that. And then December 2022 is when we started dating. And when we had the conversation about how it, like, hey, like, I guess we're not just friends anymore. Like, we're actually together. I was telling Jaren, I was like, hey, like, I'm so scared. Like, what if this ends up just like it did with Tart? Like, what if we get together and I realize I don't love you? Like, what if the distance is too far? Like, what if we don't connect in person? I was like terrified. And he was so patient and understanding. He was like, I love you. I want to make this work. Like, we got this. We can make this work. It's going to be fine, you know? And if it's not, we'll be fine anyways. I was like, okay, you're right. Okay, let's just try. And yeah. And then, so we were dating Things were really good. I thought he. There was this one quote. Oh wait, lots of thoughts. So the night after we first started dating, we were sleeping on call, as long distance couples do, and I woke up.
Wait, what does that mean? You two are listening to each other sleep over a connection of some sort?
Yeah, we would call each other and then go to sleep, but the
That's
call's still on.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I've ever done that with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And then I woke up in the middle of the night because I wanted to see if we were still on call. And so I checked my phone, 333, 3 in the morning. I was like, okay, he's still on call. Whatever, went back to sleep. And I woke up the next morning, I was like, what does 333 mean? You know? I was like, soulmates, you know? You found the one that you're supposed to be with. You found the love of your life, you know, your twin flame or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of when I realized, I was like, you know, regardless of if angel numbers are true or not, they are a tap into my own subconscious, you know, because I saw the exact same number, but when I looked up my search results, my eyes were focused on what I wanted to see. So I was like, okay, hey, that's actually really cool. And that was kind of a big push for me more into spirituality, because before I started dating Jaron, I was very, very little bit spiritual, but not really. I was a very logical person. But that's kind of what pushed me into that door. I'm trying to think of what to talk about next.
I mean, everything you said is so great. There doesn't have to be a next thing. You've brought up so much cool stuff. The importance we put on our first few relationships turn out to really, really matter. It's unusual for someone to marry someone they've known from elementary or junior high and their high school sweethearts, and then that just goes on for 60 years. That's a very small percentage of our current modern population. So there's a lot that we're learning through the exercise of going through our first few relationships, especially while trying to deal with family and go to school and becoming a young adult, and I'm supposed to be independent now. Like there's so much life happening so fast. You know, and then you bring up this connection to spirituality that gets supported by or enhance things like sacred numbers and numerology. It doesn't even matter if people believe in it or not, but there are so many harmonic repeating numbers, whether they be astrological or over and over again. I mean, people can read something as simple as the Chinese zodiac and feel a great deal of connection to the day and time that they were born and in what year and what that meant in the star cycle, and you know what that means to mix together with another person. So I don't think it matters how you wrap this up, but what is clear is you're a very deep thinker, and now you're beginning to mix that with having a great depth of emotion and what that means for you and other people and what that looks like together.
Yeah, I know it's interesting, and this still confuses me sometimes, because when I was with him, you know, like I thought that I could feel like his soul, you know, touching mine and mine touching his. It was like honestly a very profound experience, and it kind of shifted my perspective of the world. I saw the world through a much clearer lens. Like when I started dating him, I stopped dissociating for the first time in like 3 years, which was crazy because I've been through therapists and I've done so much work, and it's like I've never been able to stop dissociating. when I was with him.
Tell people what that actually looks like in your life. What does that mean to you?
Well, to me, dissociating is just like it just feels like there's just a veil over my eyes and I just cannot see, and like I will catch myself just like going cross-eyed for like 5, 10, 30 minutes just like looking at nothing, you know? And I think it's kind of funny because of how often I stare into space and just like completely blank out. I'm really good at staring contests, so I can win any staring contest because of that. But other than that little funny thing, it's miserable to dissociate because I can't truly connect with anyone or myself or the world around me. It's like there's this veil, and I just like, no matter what I do to try out and touch people, to touch anything, it just doesn't work. But when I was with Jaren, that veil went away. I could actually experience myself in other things. And another stupid thing that I still don't really understand. When we were together, because we were just children, we were 17 and 18 at the time. He was 17, I was 18. We would have these little stuffed animals, and we'd pretend like they were each other, you know, be like holding my stuffed animals, like, oh, this is you, you know. And like several times, I would be like holding the stuffed animal that was him, and I would be like, I would kiss its cheek, and then Jaren would be like, are you holding that stuffed animal right now? I'm like, yeah. He's like, are you kissing it? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I can feel it. I was like, huh. And you know, it would be like that, vice versa, and it would be very oddly specific parts of the body that we could feel each other touching each other at, and I thought that was like our souls connecting. I don't know what that was. I've tried to rationalize it into something else. I don't really know.
I know, but why? What if it was just your souls playing with each other? I think that's okay.
I don't think that's okay. Well, maybe it could be, but then it sucks so much more that he's not here anymore.
I understand.
So,
yeah. But,
yeah, that was another weird thing about being with him. I visited him once in person for a week. Mm-hmm. I went to Oregon, and then we drove to Idaho. Oh God, it's so pretty out there. Like, yeah. I felt amazing with Jaren. Like, I wasn't thinking at all, which was the first time ever that I just wasn't thinking. It was so nice. But it was also just so nice to be around the mountains and the trees, and the air was so fresh. Like,
the air smells way different.
Yes, yeah. It really does.
Mountains and water and green. I think that's the first thing that shocked me about out there, is just like, my rods and cones in my eyes had to adjust. I'm like, whoa, it's really green here.
Yes, it's so pretty. Like, there's just so many trees. It was great. That's when I kind of realized, I was like, hey, I'm not a city person. Like, I do not belong in the city. I definitely belong out here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was super nice to be with him in person and to like learn, because I only knew his vocal language. You know, I didn't know his body language all that well. We would video call, but it's still different. And so it was nice to learn about his body language and learn how to express my own. Uh-huh. Saying goodbye was obviously hard, but I think something that I realized after we broke up is that when I got home from visiting him, and obviously I felt like super sad and devastated, a lot of it was because I wasn't with him anymore, but another part of it was just that I wasn't out in nature anymore. Like, I got home from seeing mountains and trees and forests and waterfalls to seeing like a highway infrastructure, and I was like, this is so dull here, and it stinks. It's so like, no hate to people who love the city. I know it can be very, very beautiful too. It's just not for me.
Sure.
Yeah, but then after that is kind of when our codependency started, because we got really close to each other, and then he would focus more on taking care of my needs as opposed to taking care of his.
Sure.
And I saw him do that, and I was like, I don't want to be in a power dynamic, you know? I don't want to be the only one having my needs taken care of. So then I did the same. I neglected my needs to help him with his. And obviously, if you're neglecting your own needs, you can't help someone else with theirs. So we would try to help each other, but it would fail pretty miserably a lot of the times and end up making things worse for each other. And then in October of 2023, he started band on top of high school. So we'd be gone for like 13, 14, 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
All like
Sure.
every day. So we couldn't even really talk all that much. And I had just quit my job because I had a bunch of savings and my job
I'm sure the
sucked.
time zone changed.
Yeah, it also affected it. Yeah, no, because they're 2 hours behind. So that definitely more clashes.
Sure.
So yeah, we just weren't around each other much at all anymore in October. You know, more fights would arise and we wouldn't have much time to like really resolve them. Because, you know, it just takes time to resolve fights, you know, and like I would want to resolve them whenever he was around, and he just wanted to spend time with me. So like he would be gone all day, he would come home, and like we would call, and I'd be like, okay, let's fix this problem. And he'd be like, I don't want to fix the problem, I just want to talk to you,
just want to enjoy you.
Yeah. And so we were clashing in that way, and we had other mismatched triggers that started to come up where things that I would do to cope were triggering him, and things that he were doing to cope triggered me. And you know, thinking back on our relationship, I don't know if this is fair to say, but I feel like I was the bigger problem in our relationship and how the things were. Like, I created so much chaos because growing up, my dad was... Can I swear? Have I been swearing?
No, you haven't been, but you're allowed to.
Okay. My dad was shit. He was abusive in like all forms and fashions. My mom became abusive to like cope with his abuse. Eventually my dad moved out, and then whenever I would actually connect with my family is when we were talking about how bad my dad was. So I learned chaos equals connection. You know, if there's a problem, I actually get to be close with people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I actually would get close with anyone one-on-one, I would get hurt. So I learned chaos equals connection, and connection is bad. So then it was like, that was so...
Well, no, but you said something that's even more cool than that, because when you add those things together and you're becoming close to a new person of your own accord, you're going to have this subconscious need and desire to make it more intimate by causing and interjecting chaotic problems as a bonding mechanism. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like to me you're just learning really fast at warp speed.
Yeah, I mean, do you know about borderline personality disorder?
I can't say that I do.
Okay, it's a very complex disorder. It's very hellish too. I definitely would say that I had it. Because I think there's two things that characterize it in my experience is black and white thinking, where you think everything is all good or all bad, there is no gray. And then splitting is basically black and white thinking on a person. Like they do something that makes you feel threatened, and so you see them as evil, you see them as the devil, you see them as a danger, and they need to go away because they're the problem. And so I would split on Jaron a lot, honestly. Like he would do something and it would like throw me into a whirl, and I would freak out on him, you know, because it went all black and I couldn't see anything else.
Sure.
And when I would do that, he would like stay with me and like talk to me and like calm me down and be patient. He'd be like, Lulu, I know this isn't you. Like, and it wasn't me. It was just like my reaction, my childhood coming out. And it was nice that he was able to see through it, and it, like, his patience. I don't split on people anymore because I had him there with me.
See,
to like talk me through
that's
it.
Where it felt like you were going. You're learning so fast. Like it feels like you've become so hyper aware of child you that you're able to take on this strange new malleable interregnum where you're like, what's the next thing gonna feel like? I know this is how I'm feeling, so I know this is what I'm likely to do or am doing. That's gonna push people away. It's not gonna let me resolve what I want. Am I able to take a deep breath here and let's get through this?
Yeah, no, definitely learned so much with him. And it was nice because I feel like even before I was with him, I was already pretty aware of my own thoughts and like mindsets and patterns.
Sure.
And he was like the first person I've still ever met who has also been so grossly aware of his own thoughts and patterns. Like, I've only met one other person, my sister, which is funny. She's also very aware. And it's also weird because they're both born on January 23rd. Coincidence? Weird. But they're like the only two people that I've like truly been able to connect with, because I feel like they just really understand themselves, like to the degree that I understand myself.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that before? Oh yeah, I would split on him all the time, and then I slowly stopped splitting on him. And I think before I brought that up, I was getting close to our breakup.
Yeah, please do. Sure.
Yeah. So that was, oh yeah, because I would create a bunch of chaos throughout our whole relationship. And then like a couple weeks before we broke up, I was like, I'm so done with this. I can't do this. I cannot keep hurting him like this. I don't want to keep hurting him like this. Like, clearly it's taking such a toll on him. I don't want to hurt him anymore. Like, next time our relationship gets to like a stable, consistent point, I'm just going to leave it. You know, I'm not going to create any more problems for the sake of intimacy. Like, we're close enough. Like, okay, next time we're stable, it'll be okay. We got to a stable point. He did something, kind of freaked me out, but I felt like I dealt with it in a better way, and I was like, hey, this is my problem, you know, I'm dealing with this, you do you, you know, like I'm freaking out right now, but that's on me, you know, focus on you. And that still weighed on him a lot, and we didn't really talk for a couple days. I think it was like a message or two, which is pretty normal at the time because he was already really busy. And then eventually he came back and we were talking. He's like, Lulu, I don't think I can do this anymore. And, you know, he would bring up his problems. I would come up with solutions. And after like the third solution I came up with, and he kind of was like, no, I was like, I have more solutions, but it doesn't seem like you want to hear them. And he's like, I don't think I can do that right now. Like, I see, but I just don't have the energy. I don't have the time, the skill. Like, I just can't do this. And that motherfucker wouldn't even say I'm breaking up with you. I had to be the one like, okay, so we're broken up now. Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're my ex now. What sucks even more is that when he was breaking up with me, he was like, I really want to marry you. And this is the only way for it to, this is the only thing that makes sense. So that was hard. Very, very, very hard. I mean, at that time, my whole life revolved around him. I threw everything else away to try to make him feel more secure, because I had fueled his insecurities a lot, and I'd done a lot of wrong to him, honestly. And I thought that was the way to make it up. I was like, if I drop everything else, then maybe he'll see that I actually care about him. So when he broke up with me, I was kind of left with nothing but the thought that we might get back together again. So I was like, okay, he's pretty much gone now. If I ever want to be with him again, I have to get better. Like, I cannot do that to someone again. I cannot be so dependent or closed off. Like, I gotta heal. Like, I just gotta heal. So I did so much to try and heal so I could be with him again. And I remember I started going to campus at TCC, Trinity River, and I was like, I was crying all the time. Obviously, it was so hard to lose him. It was so hard. I was crying, like, trying to go home from class or from studying or whatever. So I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And I was like, it was like the events on Main Street where all the clubs were like, it was club crawl. And I was like, I wonder what's happening. I was like, no, I just want to go home. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to talk to anyone right now. And I was like, Lulu, turn around. I was like, turn around. I was like, no, I don't want to turn around. I was like, okay. I turned around and I was like, well, I can't turn around again. That would look too awkward. So I started walking towards the stands, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Hi, how are you? And, you know, it was super, everyone was super nice and super friendly. And I signed up for every single club because I was just like trying to put myself out there, you know, trying to grow up so I could actually be a good girlfriend for him eventually. And that, the reason that I told myself to turn around is because I started doing this thing where I would do one thing to make me uncomfortable every single day. One thing. And I remember the first time I did it, it was when I was parking. I always had this specific place where I parked. Like, I was going to park. I was like, no, that's your comfort zone. Get out. And I was like, I don't want to park somewhere else. I don't want to park somewhere else. I parked somewhere else. I was like, this is nice. So it's just like little things like that. But like, it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And that was great, honestly. I'll still do that when I notice myself getting like too comfortable and like too, just too comfortable.
Shake it up.
Yeah.
Be brave.
Yeah, exactly. And I almost always have good experience when I do that.
Yeah.
Or at very worst, awkward. Like, nothing bad.
Which is even funnier. Yeah. That's a better lesson in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, the listening to you and what you're going through and how much progress you've made in such a short amount of time, it takes people their whole life sometimes, maybe, if you're lucky, to go as far as you've gone. So I just want to say congratulations. And courage and bravery does matter. You know, the most awkward, hurtful, strange moments of our lives, they end up turning out to be diamonds.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to let it go on for a while.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm also honestly really proud of myself and how much I've learned, because it wasn't easy, you know. It really wasn't easy. There was a lot of torture, honestly, because, oh my God, when we broke up, we were still talking from time to time, and that was torture.
The worst.
God, because I had no idea where we stood. You know, he was slowly getting more distant, and I was like, do I let him? Do I show him that I'm there? And like, every conversation was just like torture. Yeah. But I honestly, I was a horrible girlfriend. There's honestly so much more I could go into about everything I did wrong in our relationship. There was a lot that I did wrong.
Sure.
He did too. You know, it wasn't just me, but I feel like I did more wrong. But after we broke up, and I was like, I was too much for him. You know, I can't do that anymore. So after we broke up, I kind of did a 180, and I was like very patient with him. I was very understanding. I wouldn't take out any of my emotions on him anymore. I gave him space. I was there for him, you know. I really switched it around. But I guess it was too late for him. In general. But at one point, I did apologize for everything that I did wrong. It was like a 2,200 word paper of everything. It was like 16 different things, and I like apologized in depth, and there were so many drafts because I didn't want it to seem like I was excusing my actions or not really understanding how it hurt them. Like, there's so many drafts, and it was so hard to really sit down and apologize because I had to accept the guilt because I felt so guilty for hurting him, and that's why I couldn't apologize before, because it just felt like, how dare you hurt him like that? And I just hated myself for it. But I couldn't hate myself for it forever. So I had to forgive myself first. Be like, yeah, you messed up bad, but you can fix it too, you know? So I apologized to him. When I apologized, the only thing he said was, I'll read that one day. And I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, said hearted the message and said thank you, you know, because apologizing, it cannot be about the other person's response. I apologize because I did something. No, it was
for you. The entire exercise is always going to be for you.
Yeah. So like, obviously that pissed me off so much, but I was like, nope, he can respond however he wants.
Sure.
His feelings, these are mine. Okay. Next day, he was like, hey, let's try dating again. I was like, oh, so it did work. You know, that was something that he wanted. And I was like, no, definitely not going to try dating again. We are not ready. It's only been like 2 months. No. But then after that, he actually started like conversing with me again. And like, we actually talked for like a month. We would actually have like normal people conversations. And then it kind of went off the grid again. And it was back to like the sporadic once a week, once a month. 5-minute conversations maybe. I don't know what changed for him and when. I wish I did. I tried to ask, but he wouldn't share. Which is understandable because throughout our relationship, when he would try to share his problem, either one, I would make it about me, or two, try to fix his problems, or just straight up invalidate them. Which is all very blanket statements, but they go really deep and like they're really not good things that I did. But you know, even though I did a lot of damage to him during our relationship, it doesn't excuse the sort of flakiness that he was showing me afterwards. You know, the sort of he wasn't straightforward at all, and he was very, I don't know, just, he didn't even treat me like a friend, honestly. It seemed like he was treating me as less than a friend. Maybe that was just because I was so used to having like all sides of him, and then I was back to having maybe just one or two, and it was just hard. But what I did doesn't, like, two wrongs don't make a right, you know, regardless of everything I did. If it hurt him so much that he decided to treat me with disrespect in other ways, then we just can't talk to each other, you know, because I don't deserve to be treated with disrespect regardless of what I did. But
well, I think from what I'm hearing, that's what it sounds like will end up being really helpful to you. Maybe he's just being a young man growing into his own that's 2 time zones and 4,000 miles away.
yeah.
So, and you're learning how to treat yourself through communicating like that.
Yeah.
And he's learning how to also be better through communicating to people like he's communicating to you.
Yeah, no, I was definitely like, as much as it hurt to have him treat me so dry and so distant, I was like, at least he's prioritizing himself to some degree, because he was so selfless and he would struggle to do anything for himself. So it was like, even though I don't like how you're treating me and I don't think it's good, at least you're focusing on yourself to some degree. And he's so smart. I know he'll figure it out. But we can't figure it out that close together. So started getting more distant, and then I was kind of sick of it. I saw on his Instagram, it was him next to this other girl, and I flipped. I mean, not on him, which is something that I learned. You know, I didn't take it out on him like I used to, but I flipped. I was like, and I was calling up my brother and his girlfriend, and I was crying. I was like, ah! And they're like, you have no idea who that woman is. You have no idea. And I looked back later, and it wasn't just him and this other girl. It was like a group of people, and it was someone else taking the pictures. I totally flipped. And like around that time, I messaged him, and then his friend messaged me back on his account, sending like a picture of himself, and it was like, hey, or something. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I was like, okay. And then I was like, hey, been a while since we've talked. Can we like call sometimes? You know, want to catch up, see how you're doing, see where we stand. And then another picture of Jaren's friend, and it was like, he's my Pookie now, we're married. And I was just like, okay. And then I was like, does this mean you for real don't want to date anymore? Like, and then he was like, when you want to call? I was like, I don't know. It was just very weird and like so, I mean, because I was trying to have like a serious conversation, and clearly they weren't taking it seriously at all. And I was already having that image of him and the other girl in my head. So I was freaking out. And I was like, Lulu, if you're freaking out this much over a conversation this simple, then you cannot talk to this man anymore. Like, you've been healing so much. These triggers are coming out around him. You can't be around him anymore. Like, this just isn't working. So, I ended up blocking him and his friend because he got his friends to add me too, and they were like trolling me. It was like, what the hell, man? Like, grow up. But whatever. So I blocked them, and then Jaren messaged my alt. He said, lol, why you block me? Didn't respond. So he created an alt to message me. Whatever. So I sent him this message. I could probably honestly recite it right now.
Maybe you should.
I said, Jaren, you were truly an amazing boyfriend. Or like, Jaren, you were a great boyfriend and a truly amazing person. You know, you did so much for me and truly changed my life for the better. And I will always be grateful for that. I'm scared of saying goodbye now because I think I might just always worry about whether you're alive or not. So would it be too much to ask you to write me a letter if you do kill yourself so I can at least attend the funeral? I think you deserve to live a long life, and I hope that you do. And I hope you find someone who makes you feel like you're worthwhile, because you really do deserve that. But I genuinely cannot do this with you anymore. I have been so patient with you and so understanding, and I've always given you the benefit of the doubt, and yet you treat me like I'm a joke. You entertain someone else romantically so much that they say they're indirectly dating you, which is what one of his friends on his alt messaged me. I mean, I think it was a joke, but like, it's not funny. I didn't know that. I didn't know who that person was. You entertain someone romantically so much that they say they're indirectly dating you. I would never do that to you, and I won't tolerate anything less than what I deserve. I don't want to date you anymore, and I don't ever want to hear from you again unless you can seriously get your shit together and commit to me. I have given you so many chances, and you ridicule me for caring about you, so I'm done. And that's what I sent him back in May of this year. He stopped responding for a while. And then you know what he did? He messaged me again in August, and he said meow at 12 in the morning. And then 2 hours later, he said, bro, what's up? Bro, what's up? And I was so tired. I was like, please just tell me you don't love me anymore so I stop hoping we'll be together again. Like, I'm tired of this. Like, tell me exactly how you feel about me. And he was like, honestly, I don't know why you're so explosive all the time, or recently when you talk with me. I think you're cool though, and I would appreciate if you respond faster. I don't want to have a conversation over days. Like, he had any sort of reason to ask me to respond to him faster after he'd been ignoring me for months. That little prick. Fucking dickhead. And then after he sent that, he sent thigh pictures of his own thighs to me, like 2 hours later. Like, literally, I know, see, one of the problems we had during our relationships is I wanted to try, like, substances later in life, like alcohol, drugs, not a lot, but I just wanted to experience them. He was super against that because he came from a history of addiction and abuse, and he was just so terrified of me falling down that path. But I learned after we broke up, he started smoking and drinking, so clearly not right in the head anymore. So he sent me thigh pics or whatever, and I was like trying to talk to him, not really getting much of a response. And then I was talking to my friend about it. I was like, this is so hard. Why is he back? Why couldn't he have just left me alone? And she was like, maybe you could try sending him like a voice message, so we can see how serious you are and how much it hurts. Maybe it's just like miscommunication. I was like, okay, you're right. So like I sent him a voice message. Basically just like, hey, like, good person, I'm not mad at you, but I'm not okay with this. Like, you're really hurting me. I don't want to be around you. Please stop talking to me. I just want to be serious. Like, I'm kind of over this. And then like 3 days later, after I sent that, he messaged me back. He was like, I was taking a break from work. Don't know why you're so serious. And I was like, I really just want to get an answer. Like, I still didn't really know how he felt about me. Like, he broke up saying he wanted to marry me, and then slowly everything started shifting. And then we got to talking a bit. I was just trying to play it casual, honestly, small talk. It's the first time I was able to, like...
Well, how could you not? He's completely violated any sense of safety or trust.
Yeah.
That's such a huge transition. It's unusual for a person to develop that different of a strong suit that they come off as a completely different person. So you had every right to be a little bit confused and protective of yourself at that point.
Yeah, it definitely was a huge shift. I mean, it wasn't totally out of the blue. Like, there was instances in the conversations we had after we broke up that I could see him shifting,
Sure.
and like becoming more dry and distant and more selfish and rude. So it wasn't totally surprising, but it still sucks. Especially because he was so nice to me for like a year when I I mean, it's not that I didn't deserve it, but I kind of didn't. Not to that extent. Not.
You always deserve to be treated with care and concern and love and patience and kindness. You did deserve it. The people being their very best toward you and around you, you always deserve that.
Thank you.
You so often do the same for other people, even when you're not trying to. All of us at our best are always that's the real us. When life and stress and fear and all of the other things get in the way,
Yeah.
those are the times that create the awkward ugliness that we go through with each other.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's like talking about this. I'm sure you're thinking, I'm sure other people are thinking, it's like, what a dickhead, what an asshole, how dare you do that to you? You don't deserve that. You could find someone so much better. You could find someone so much better. And it's like, yes, true, sure, I get your point, and I get the love behind those words, but it's like people are always telling me, you deserve someone who loves you at your worst, otherwise they don't deserve you at your best. And it's like, why doesn't that apply to him? I don't know. I feel like ever since me and Jaren broke up, and even before, nobody wanted us to be together. Like, because we were so young, people are like, oh, it's not gonna last. It never does. It barely ever does. It's long distance. It's not gonna last. You two are too young. It's not gonna last. And then we broke up. It was like, oh, he's an asshole for leaving you. You'll find someone else. And it was frustrating. It's still frustrating to hear. I don't really talk about our breakup anymore because people are just so quick to be like, you'll find someone else, you'll move on.
You two could end up still marrying each other in 10 or 20 years. I mean, that could be a real thing that happens. Like, it's the thing that's become obvious from this conversation is you're experiencing and learning and going through a lot, and you're learning really fast and you're healing really fast.
Yeah.
And who knows what's happening with him. But it sounds like both of you are prioritizing your own lives, and when any of us want to get married to each other and be in a permanent relationship for life, the best version that we can hope for of that is that each person is wholly themselves and is as loving and thoughtful and patient and kind as possible.
Yeah, because I feel like that's who everyone is at the center of their being, at the core of their being. I think everyone is super nice and caring. I think people love to listen and to understand and help others. And I feel like that's who we all are. So, like, as much as Jaren has totally just disrespected me past this breakup, it's like the little bit that I did get from what was happening in his life was really, really bad. Like, clearly something has been going so wrong for him that he even started taking any sort of substances. Like, he was terribly against it. Like, clearly something's not right. And I remember we were talking super briefly one time, and he described his life as ugly. And out of all the people that I've talked to about their traumas and their pains, I've never heard someone describe their life as ugly before. Like, it must have been pretty bad. Not an excuse for how he treated me, but definitely would make it a lot easier to forgive him if he did say sorry. Yeah, so we were having, back in August of this year, we were having small talk, just talking about whatever. And then he was like, I think in the voicemail or prior, at some point I asked him to call. I wanted to call with him. I didn't want to text. And he was like, I'm tired. I just got off of a 62-hour work week, 12-hour shifts. Crazy. He's obviously working himself to death. And 12-hour. Oh. 12. Wait, why did I just forget what I was talking about? I asked him to call, and he was like, can't call right now. And then we were having small talk. And then he was like, what did you want to call about? And I was like, oh, well, I don't really want to call about it because, I don't want anything to get misunderstood more than they already are. And then he was like, I'm sure we could work it out. Okay, motherfucker. Okay. So I was like, why did you break up with me? And he was like, because we were toxic. And I couldn't envision myself with someone with the same aspirations as you. And I was like, you mean lack of aspirations? Because at the time that we broke up, I was like super depressed and high-key suicidal. So I didn't really have any aspirations. And then he was like, your aspiration were to test drugs on me, which I did not want to test drugs on him. I wanted to test drugs on myself because I was very curious about the effects that it could help people with their mental health. And I wanted to try that on myself because that's been a really powerful thing that I've learned how to help other people by learning how to help myself. So I wanted to try that with drugs. And he was super against that. And then like I tried to offer him compromises and he shot them all down. So eventually I was like, or he was like, I would rather you test them on me than test them on yourself. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just test them on you then. Like, if you're not going to let me do this with all of these strict conditions and boundaries, then fine. I'll just test the drugs on you. And I got very, like, when I said that, I was very, very mean about it and, like, super hurtful. And I was trying to hurt him because I was mad at him. Very mean. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to test drugs on him. I just, like, I didn't like that he was trying to tell me what I could do with my body. And I was like, that's an imbalance. So I was like, okay, we'll just equally be imbalanced. I can't do what I want with my body, and you can't do what you want with your body. You know, it sucks and it's terrible, but at least we're equal, you know? That was my mindset at the time. But I didn't want to do that. So he was like, I don't want to be with someone with the same aspirations as you. I was like, I didn't mean that. Like, and then he was like, that brings me to my second point. You were manipulative. I was, that is true. And he was too, which is unfortunately something that I really liked about him. Because in my mind, I feel like, I forgot that this isn't the real definition, but manipulation is basically like being able to read between the lines and like understanding people's thoughts and behaviors, you know? I don't think all manipulation is bad, but I totally forget that this isn't a real definition, but I feel like to some extent, it's when I would help people out with their problems, I would like low-key manipulate them into like seeing it for themselves. And I would like, you know, do a little here, a little there, and they would like, and then they would come to the conclusion on their own, you know? Because I would read between their lines and I would speak between my lines, and then have them come to that conclusion. So I feel like it can be good in some extents, but that was a tangent. Anyways, yeah, he was like, I didn't want to be with someone with the same aspirations as you. I mean, because we were toxic. We were toxic sometimes. I mean, codependency is toxic, but we were also just kids, you know? And I thought our relationship was still pretty mature for two teenagers in a long distance relationship who pretty much had no prior relationship experience. I thought we did pretty good. I was like, okay, you know, like I didn't want to argue with him anymore. I obviously didn't even think that I could get anything more out of him. So I was like, I guess that makes sense. Whatever. Talking some more. And then, I could feel myself like, cause we were talking for like 3 hours. He messaged me back at like 3 a.m. my time, which was 1 a.m. his time. And we were talking for like 3 hours, just catching up on each other's lives and stuff. Another dickhead move that he did is he sent me pictures of other people kissing him. It was on the cheek, but like seriously? Ripping my hair out. Fucking idiot. Yeah, so I was kind of just like, it pissed me off, of course, but it was still nice to just like actually be able to talk to him for the first time in a while and like to really partly see who he was now, you know? And then like I was talking with him, I was like, I don't want to leave. And I could feel myself wanting to stay and talk with him longer. I'm like, you know, you can't do that, LuLu. Like, you got to end this conversation. And I was like, damn, I'm gonna miss you, man. And he was like, I hope you don't. And I was like, probably will. He was like, should I be really mean to you so you don't miss me? And I was like, yes, be totally honest with me. Be so straightforward and blunt with your feelings. And he was like, this isn't how I honestly feel, but I can still roast you, you know? And I was like, okay, sure. And so then he was saying a bunch of dumb jokes, and I was like, these aren't even mean. Like, you knew so much of me. You could really push my buttons. And he was like doing dumb jokes. I'm like, this isn't working. And he was like, I honestly don't care. I was like, okay. And then he was like, do you want to see this paragraph that I wrote about you? I think you said back when we were together or something. I was like, yeah, sure. Show it. And it was like pretty mean, but it also wasn't super specific. I don't know if he actually wrote it about me or was about someone else. But I was like, okay, it's how you honestly feel about me. I'll take note. And he was like, I hope you get a brain. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, even if that's not how you feel about me sometime, or like even if that's not how you feel about me right now, that's how you genuinely felt about me in a moment in time. And he was like, oh my God, I hope you get a brain. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm not explaining shit. I'm like, all right, stranger, you know, because I was trying to just end the conversation. And he was like, you seriously got to move the fuck on, though. And I was like, I've been trying to. It would be much more easier to if you told me that you don't love me, you don't ever want to be with me again. Instead, I'm stuck with that, I don't know how I feel. And after I said that, he said, I don't love you anymore. I don't want to be with you ever again. I seriously regret dating you, and I hope I never make a mistake like that again. And I was like, thank you. Could have told me that months ago, dude. Like, you didn't have to drag this out for so long. And I was like, all right, bye, Koi. Because Koi is his online. He was like, bye, Koi. He was like, wait, one more thing. I was like, what? He was like, do you remember my friend Do? And I was like, can't say I remember them. He said, do these nuts fit in your mouth? I was like, bye, Koi. He said, idiot, adios. How do I block someone? And he blocked me. And that was the last conversation I had with him, which was about 3 months ago. Which is good that he's not reached out to me again. But after that conversation, it was like 6 a.m. I was freaking out still. You know, I was like, I can't be in here. I can't be in my house. I gotta get outside. I gotta get outside. So like I got outside, I got in my car, I started driving. I was like, I don't know where I'm going. And I started driving. I was like, shit, I need gas. So I got to a gas station. I was like texting everyone I knew. I was like, hey, can we talk? This sucks. And like one person picked up. We called for a bit. She was like, hey, I'm really tired. It was 7 a.m, of course. I was like, okay, I'm at a gas station right now. I'm trying to find a park to go to. Can we call back later? She's like, yeah, of course. I might be back asleep again, but I'll try to be there. So I went to a park, tried to call her again. She was asleep. It's like, it's okay. She can sleep. No one else I texted had responded yet. So I found a tree to sit against. I love sitting against trees.
Sure.
You know, I was sitting against that tree watching the sunrise, and all I saw was the sunrise.
Yeah.
I was looking at the tree and all I saw was the tree. I used to see so much more in life. Like there was something deeper, but I don't really see things like that anymore. Honestly, I really don't. Like,
it's a really big deal to see the sunrise up against a tree sometimes. It doesn't have to be more than that.
yeah.
Sometimes being able to see the sunrise sitting on a tree is really all you're ever gonna need.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was super nice, and it was exactly what I needed right then. I mean, the weather was beautiful. Like, it was really nice, but I was like, damn, there really is nothing else out there, is there? This is all we got. There's no God out there listening to me. There's nothing trying to help me. There's no universe pushing us together or keeping us apart. We're just, you know, we were together because we chose to be together, and we're apart because we chose to be apart.
That's really powerful. That's completely true. So the idea that there's not going to be another him at some point without the abuse, obviously, because it wasn't just you. I mean, to take that position,
Yeah.
that's just not very realistic. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Um, there was a thought I had well before we had our last conversation, but I was kind of like, I kind of don't want another romantic relationship. Like, I'm kind of just so over it. And I think for a little while it was to honor what we had together.
Mm-hmm.
But then, after he started treating me like that, I was like, well, screw him. There was nothing there to honor. Like, clearly, he didn't love me like I thought he did. Um,
Well, the other thing that you brought up that's kind of bringing this full circle and connecting it together. You said at the beginning of this, um, people connected around how abusive your own father was. And that was like the sinew that brought together intimacy in a family union.
mm-hmm.
And now you're falling in love with and giving time to someone that was going to be potentially the patriarch of your own family as an adult who is abusing you. So now you have the wisdom to see this, and who knows what you're going to create in your own future.
Yeah, I, I mean, you're right. I get what you're saying. Um, I don't think you mean it like this, but I've definitely heard people say things similar to that. And basically, what I hear is people telling me that how dare you still love him? How dare you love this person who abused you? How dare you still want to be with him? If you want to be with him, that means you're still broken and still hurting and still traumatized.
Oh,
That's kind of what
interesting.
I take it as.
Yeah, me either.
Um, so, yeah. After that, I did end up being able to talk about what just happened with several people that day, which was helpful. I think for another day or two, I was crying about it a lot, and then I would just kind of like shut it off.
Sure.
And I've been trying because it sucks, because I still have like a spark of hope in me that he'll come back, and I still feel like that's wrong. And so like I try to like shut down that hope, and it's crushing all the hope that I have for life in general and for people. Like for people. And like I don't have hope anymore for like anything. And I don't really believe in, I mean, like I do, but I just don't, I have a hard time seeing through people's flaws and through their hurts and through their wounds, because when I start to see people as how I used to, as beautiful through their flaws and human through their wounds, I will see Jaren like that too, and it's like you can't see him like that. You can't see him like that. So I've kind of just like put this thing over myself so I stop caring about people so much, which is it's the worst possible thing to happen since our breakup. Is like I don't believe in hope, and I don't totally believe in love anymore. I used to think that this world ran on love. Like everything was love. Like the one true thing was love. Everything is changing. There's no consistency. There's no true knowledge to be found because it varies per person. It varies per everything. But like the one thing that we could follow is love. And I say, screw that now, which is so sad. It's so sad, but that's how I see it. Because when I don't see it like that, I'm like, damn, I hope he comes back one day. Not anytime soon, not for a long time, but one day. And I'm like, you can't think like that. But, all that to say, I think something that I did learn throughout all of this was even though my perspective has shifted, I would say pretty negatively. I'm not super happy with it, but I also don't care enough to be sad. Better to have loved and have lost than to have never loved at all. You know, even if I see things like this forever, or even if I changed again, or if I get with someone else like everyone wants me to, being with him did so greatly speed up my recovery and like my healing. Like I never would have been able to do this with you or even go to campus and talk with people if it wasn't for the relationship I had with him. So definitely better to have loved and have lost than to never love at all.
That's beautiful. I don't think this is going to end any better than that. Do you have any parting thoughts? And it's okay if you don't.
Not really.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say.
All right, grand finale. Thank you so much. It's been really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lulu.
Thank you.